If people gossip and you hear them gossiping about other people, they'll probably eventually gossip about you. We humans have compulsive behavior. We are compelled to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. You actually learn more from the negative than the positive, but it can also motivate you to try even harder, to actually get work done and to make it something really great and to doubt yourself constantly. You have to first realize that you have these patterns before you can even begin to break them. First thing you have to do, most important thing, is to realize that determining people's character is the most important thing that you have to do in judging them. So normally we think if someone's very charming, that's great, or if they're really good looking, or if they're very successful. So if we're looking, let's say we're looking for a business partner or a romantic partner or a colleague to work with, we're going to base our decision on those kinds of appearances. Like, people can be very good at deceiving you with being very charming and flattering, or they have a brilliant resume, and you'll be seduced by that. And what you want to do, the first step in that law, is to say, no, that's not how I'm going to judge people. My main value is their character and the strength of their character. And character is something from deep, deep, deep within. The word character comes from the Greek chairos, which means to carve. And character is something really deeply carved inside the person. It's who they are at their core. It creates patterns of behavior that they can't even really control. It's who they are genetically. It's who they are from the early values of their parents. So you want to connect to that. You want to see that. It's not immediately visible to you because people will disguise their character. You want to see that and you want to value it more than anything else. And what you want are people with strong character. And what that means is people, they have an expression for metal, they call it tensile, where a metal is stronger if it can give a little bit, because if something is too rigid, it breaks. So you want people who are adaptable, who can be fluid, who aren't weak, because that metal isn't weak, who have an inner strength and a core to them, but they can bend, they can learn, they can adapt, they can change. You want to see people who are empathetic, who know how to get along with other people. So if you have two people to choose and one has a glittering resume but the other person understands human nature and is superior in a social sense and can also has a good work ethic, you choose that other person. You don't choose necessarily the person with that glittering resume. One of the things you look for are patterns in judging their character. Because people reveal themselves in the past. They reveal who they are through their action. They try and disguise it, but they reveal it. Nobody ever does anything once. But the fact is, if they've done that once, they've probably done it many times. If people gossip and you hear them gossiping about other people, they'll probably eventually gossip about you. So you want to be able to look at people's patterns and look at their past and see trends, and understand that if they've done certain things in the past, they will continue to do them because we humans have compulsive behavior. We are compelled to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. Some people are toxic. Those are the kinds of people who can't really change. Their patterns are too ingrained. And we've all met people like that. We've all had to deal with a narcissist who's so deeply self-absorbed. You have to be honest that there are people out there. You can't be naive. There are people out there who are toxic, who are dangerous, who can ruin your life. You hire the wrong person. You have to not be naive and recognize these toxic types. And often it's best not to try and change them, because trying to change them entangles you in a lot of their drama. But people have to be able to change themselves. They have to be motivated. You can help illuminate some of their patterns and their problems. But it has to come from within. None of us see the world in the same way. So you and I could go watch a movie. It's the same movie that we're watching. I love it, I see something, you hate it, you see something else. You don't experience it the same way. We're watching the same world, the same reality, but we experience it differently. Everybody you meet is experiencing their world differently than you are. So you have an attitude that colors what you see. And some people have an attitude that tends towards the negative. And I describe a negative attitude as something that's closed. So you're not open to new experience. You're trying to close that lens. You have certain beliefs, certain ideas about life, and you're not willing to change them, right? Because that gives you a sense of security. And so you want an attitude that's expansive, where you accept people, you're not always judging them, you're not negative about them, you understand that people can't necessarily help who they are. You're open to change, you're open to having adventure. And that kind of attitude kind of gives you a certain degree of freedom, so that the worst that happened to you, and you're able to transform that into something good. If we have a setback or a failure in life, which is inevitable, do we do one of two things? Do we analyze ourselves and see what we did wrong and how we could change ourselves? Or do we immediately look outward and blame other people? That person screwed me. Society doesn't like me. Because of these circumstances, I'm screwed and I can never help it. It's the world, it's not me. That's a self-sabotaging pattern of behavior. Because if you're always pointing fingers at other people and blaming them, you're never going to learn from your experiences, and you're going to end up being quite bitter. Being and reflecting about the role that you played in what happened. We're not in charge of everything that happens in life. There are circumstances that are beyond our control. But a lot of what does happen to us is something that we do, that we are responsible for. There are amazing studies about the role of attitude and what happens to you in life. So they have this thing called the Pygmalion effect. Teachers who treat a student as if they are smart and going to do well, those students end up doing well, right? So how you treat people, how you think about yourself has a great impact on what happens to you. When doctors prescribe a new medication, there's always the same trend. When a new medication has been invented, the success rate is like 80% because people believe in it because it's new. And then like 2 years later, it starts going down. So if you believe something is going to work, if you believe that you are great, you deserve good things, that you are a good student, you will end up making those things happen. So how you look at yourself will often determine what ends up happening to yourself. So if you're talking about what causes self-sabotage, if you go through life thinking, God, I'm not really that good, there's something wrong with me. I don't really deserve good things. I don't deserve to have a lot of success or to have a lot of money. People read that off of you. A major theme in this book is that we are masters at reading people's body language and nonverbal behavior. So when somebody feels that they don't deserve things, it's kind of an off-putting quality in them, and it pushes people away. So you create self-fulfilling dynamics by how you look at yourself and your attitude. That dark side contains a lot of energy. It contains a lot of power. Those 2-year-olds that are kicking and screaming, that's all this kind of force behind it. And when you sort of are ashamed of it and you push that down, you're kind of getting rid of an incredible well of energy that you can use for your creativity, for your work, etc. You can take that energy, like you say, and create discipline out of it, do something creative out of it, support some cause that you really believe in. So that shadow side, when you deny it, only negative things will happen. And it is extremely important for people to first recognize it in themselves, and it's very hard for a lot of people to do that. And a lot of times I look at people in the public eye who get caught doing something really stupid, like you say, and their first thing will be, well, that wasn't me that did it. I don't know what came over me. That's not who I am. But that is exactly who you are. That is the person who has been carrying this resentment and this kind of inner anger, but not acting upon it. And then suddenly they do something really stupid, like having an affair with a 21-year-old, or they're just caught doing something. The ability to set limits and to say no and to tell people that, it's not right for you to bang on my house at this hour. And that takes a little bit of toughness on your part. You have to be kind of willing to put yourself on the line. Maybe that person will get angry and hit you or something, or maybe the war will escalate, but you have to be willing to take that risk, because if you don't, then you set no limits and who knows what they'll end up doing. But a lot of this permissiveness is people are just basically afraid. They're afraid of any kind of confrontation. They're afraid of any kind of conflict. And through conflict and confrontation is how you actually grow. It's actually how you develop. And you have to be able to accept it as well, because some people probably in those situations can't stand any kind of criticism. They're so fragile that if the other person pushes back, it kind of escalates into a battle. So real strength comes from the ability in a relationship or any kind of intimate or otherwise, is the ability to take that kind of criticism, to actually welcome it when people set limits for you and tell you that this kind of behavior is wrong. And then you can evaluate and assess yourself. I thought that there's tremendous power in this fearlessness, not being afraid to be different, not being afraid to have conflict and confrontation, not being afraid of death itself, not being afraid of the reality of your situation, on and on. So the book that we formed together was kind of a meditation on 10 forms of fearlessness. I thought that I was a relatively fearless person, which in some ways I am. I seem agreeable, but I'm actually in some ways a little bit bold and adventurous. But compared to him, I realized, no, I'm actually riddled with fears. And just being around him and kind of writing the book helped me a lot in my, kind of overcome some of my own limits and some of my own fears. There's a kind of a reckless fearlessness that a lot of people from the hood have, which doesn't really serve them very well, and it gets them in a lot of trouble, right? Well, a lot of those people who display that they're actually hiding the opposite. They're actually very, very riddled with insecurities. They're not create this sort of bravado and this false front, and they go to an extreme to kind of project this machismo, when in fact they're riddled with insecurities, and that's their way of dealing with it. The ultimate and sublime is, to me, so the way I look at it is being a human being and being socialized is a kind of a world, there's a limit, a circle that we have to live inside, certain codes and conventions that we have to abide by, and we all do that. And the codes and conventions for 5th century BC China are not the same as what we have now, but there's still that limit. Humans are attracted to what lies beyond that limit. It's just part of our nature. It's a first part of it. And when we explore beyond the social limits and codes and things we're supposed to do and ways we're supposed to act, it's deeply exciting and thrilling. But there's also that element of fear involved. The sense of life is almost too much. It's overpowering in its immediacy. And we humans try and kind of dull the razor edge so much so that we can live. But if you think about, your mortality on a day-to-day basis, and if you try and actually experience the immediacy of life and how dangerous it actually is and how it's fraught with all of these you don't want to confront, is very, very, very powerful. And when you have that, it's like the ultimate. So that sense of it's almost too much, it's almost like death itself, like something so pleasurable can actually kind of morph into something a little bit frightening. We don't have the right conception of ancient religions. They're actually very different from what we think. We have these kind of cliched notions of kind of mischievous gods cavorting in clouds and doing all kinds of naughty things that are very human, and just kind of almost a silliness to it, like, whoa, we're so beyond that. But actually, pagan religions were extremely serious, and they were based on creating very powerful emotional responses in people. And that was what primal religion was about, or ancient religion was about. It wasn't based on texts, on dogma, on the written word. So the Eleusinian mysteries, because there are mysteries, because nobody ever wrote about it, there's no text, there's nothing written that we can go to. Yes, there's the hymn to Demeter that kind of maybe describes a little bit of what it's based on, but we don't know really what happened because nothing was ever written down. It was simply about creating this overwhelming emotional reaction in which you took the initiates to the edge of death. You made them experience death in life, which is the story of Demeter and Persephone. You were like making them feel as if they had gone into the underworld itself. And that created a whole new relationship to life. But I wanted this idea that religion isn't this kind of milquetoasty thing that people think about nowadays. It was initially an extremely powerful reaction to human vulnerability, to our weakness in this immense cosmos with all of these very powerful forces. And the religious rituals were to actually mirror that and give you a kind of compensatory sense that you could control it, you could contain it within these kind of powerful experiences. People's worlds have become so tight and so banal and so limited, where they're just kind of disappearing into their phones, and their world is just sort of programmed for them by by Facebook or social media, and they're sort of told what they're supposed to think, and they're kind of programmed. And at the same time, what science is discovering about the universe and about where we live and about who we are is just so insanely mind-blowing. It's just absolutely it's sublime, in my opinion.